This is the Fuel Sports Network.
And that's the bottom line. You want a war? You're going to get one.
The cream will rise to the top, oh yeah.
Now you want to get nuts? Come on, let's get nuts.
Hard work pays off. Dreams come true. Bad times don't last, but bad guys do.
It's officially a wrap on the 2024 UFL season. Congratulations goes out to the Birmingham Stallions, who made it look easy once again. So now they've got 2 USFL championships to go along with their first UFL championship. Leaves me wondering, where are the San Antonio Brahmas? Because the team that I saw last weekend in the Dome playing that championship game was not the team that stuck it to the Battlehawks the week before. It's kind of a thin week this week. All my other co-hosts are busy, so I had to dig deep this week, and I had to go to nothing more than the X-Fan show to find A-Train. So I got A-Train to tell his boss that he was leaving work early so he could join me. Are you there, A-Train? Maybe he is, maybe he's not. We'll give him a few more minutes in the meantime. Why don't... Are you there, A-Train?
Forgive me. Yeah, I'm here.
You here?
I am here.
I was just kind of talking a little bit about, just got started talking about the game. So let's go ahead. Courtesy of the UFL, I'll show the highlights first. And by then, maybe you'll be settled in. We can talk about it on the other end.
Last year, when the XFL had their championship in San Antonio, and even though the Brahmas weren't in it,
you guys tried to trick me. You guys tried to trick me.
It should be up there.
It almost worked. But I caught it. I should have known. In fact, if I look behind there somewhere, I'm sure Dirty's back there somewhere. Here we go. Here's the highlight.
To the field, the XFL Conference Champion, San Antonio.
They're all a little different.
Yeah.
You get into these games, and there's a lot of defense out there right now. You see defense can go out there and play with a lot of energy, but someone's got to get the ball down the field.
Ocean! Hey!
Blitz coming, quick pass. Open is Jennings, fighting into the end zone. Touchdown, Birmingham. Martinez. Open. Touchdown. Sneak. No signal. They say he didn't get it. The official comes in from the sideline saying San Antonio stopped it, and they'll turn it over on downs. Big play by this defense.
That's a huge stop by that Brahmas defense. There's no doubt. That T-Bone has not been stopped by many people over the course of the last couple of years, and here they're trying with a sneak right here. They're
calling now, but they work all season long. You and Mike Pereira back in the command center. And that's one of the great innovations we have seen as we get a timeout called on the field. And there's some pushing and shoving and fighting along the sideline. Jay Sternberg, you can see involved. Thompson there without a helmet on for San Antonio.
One of the defense. Both fouls have been deemed flagrant, and both players are ejected.
This is the outside here, Sternberger. And you can tell this has been brewing all day long because they're just going out. This is like hockey style right now. It's like literally they were going after each other right away. And that continued for a while. And then even after this original tangle, as they were trying to get loose, there was a couple of other
San Antonio
pushes. And then that's right there. See, there was a left hand from Sternberger. And then again, more flags came out. And so now Bryce Thompson and Jay Sternberger.
Here, he has been doused. Oh, it's lucky he didn't drown in that one.
But how to you? There it is. That's a good one to win, my man.
Happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there. Giddy up!
So I am still just completely in shock over a team that had built up so much momentum heading into that championship game, and then to turn around and see the Brahmas play the way they played in the championship game. I still don't make heads or tails of it. What do you think?
You know what? This is the show where I didn't get to do it on the X-Fan show, but I want to do it here. I've seen it on several podcasts dealing with the whoever has the San Antonio show dealing with the Brahmas. Like, what in the world was Chase Garbers thinking about when he was in that game? Oh, because he got an NFL opportunity, he decided that he wanted to lighten up on his play. He didn't want to play aggressive because he didn't want to hurt his opportunity. See, stuff like that will wind up getting you away from an NFL opportunity. How are you going out of bounds? You see the marker, and you're not even going toward the marker because you don't want to get hit. Oh, then you're sliding down. You have an opportunity for a first down where nobody is near you. You don't even cross the freaking mark, and you come up short. And you want to sit here and tell me that you deserve an NFL opportunity? As soon as I would have seen that game, if I was an NFL team, I'm ripping it away. Because what in the world are you thinking?
You want to know why I'm not a stats guy?
Why are you not a stats guy?
Because I always talk about, especially when you guys talking about Perez earlier this year.
He's still offensive player of the year.
You're talking about all the stats and everything, but at the end of the day, did you win or did you lose? Because here's an interesting fact. Okay, if you look at stats, you would look at it and you would say, Adrian Martinez, 13 for 23 for 98 yards and 1 touchdown. Let's see. Chase Garbers, 18 for 26, 116 yards. They end up with identical 106.7 QBR rating for the game. Both quarterbacks, identical QBR ratings. It's based on what? It's based on stats. One quarterback ends up getting championship game MVP. The other quarterback has been taking nothing but crap and taking a hit all week for basically giving up on the game. So you tell me if stats have any bearing in the heart or how good a player is, how he performs on game day. Because if you look at Garbers and you look at Martinez, if you strictly look at stats, now granted, Martinez got the MVP because he had 3 touchdowns. He had 2 rushing touchdowns and 1 passing touchdown. But as far as stats go, him and Garber were a dead heat. But yet one gets league MVP and the other one may never see the UFL again.
I got a question for that. Is touchdowns a stat?
Touchdown. I told you, touchdowns were a stat, and that's why he ended up getting the MVP.
So that means in this case that it meant something. It meant something for him to do that. Now it'd have been different if Garbers threw for a couple of touchdowns. He could have thrown 1 touchdown, and then it would have been something almost worth arguing over. But he didn't do anything. Like the whole team didn't do anything.
Do you know? And was it the end of the third quarter or was it the fourth quarter that Garber slid on a 3rd and 1 and slid short of the first down?
Right.
That's when I knew, because I didn't even have a side view of the field. I was sitting up in a suite in the corner of the end zone, so I didn't have the depth perception. I just knew that as soon as he slid that it had to have been close, because I could even tell from where I was at that it was short. But I tell you what, in a game like that, at that point in the game, I'm surprised. I'm actually shocked. You look at Anthony McFarland was beside himself on the sideline, and he had every right to be.
He got every right.
But my question is, why was he the only one? You would have thought that there would have been collectively the whole defense, everybody that even sniffed that play would have been all over him at that point. Because that, to me, was unexcusable, especially when you see the replay of the game to find out that when he slid on 3rd and 1, he actually could have ran another 2 or 3 yards before there was even any contact.
Exactly. And I bet you he don't even give a damn about this game. About that game, about even being in that place. Like, soon as there was the rumblings, I guess, that said that, he was getting an NFL opportunity, I'm like, this where you really want to show out, because then this is a greater chance of you being a 3rd stringer, a 4th stringer to a 3rd stringer, a 3rd stringer to a backup, because there ain't no way. You already know who the 32 starting quarterbacks are going to be, mostly in the NFL. But this is an opportunity where you can get on a 53-man roster. You don't have to be on a practice squad to say, I'm getting an NFL opportunity. This is where you take that upon yourself to make it happen. And you were going against a team that you beat the last time. Granted that he wasn't the starting quarterback when it happened. But even with that being said, there was a lot of 3 and outs, man, and it was killing them. It was killing the Brahmas.
As a defense, you have absolutely zero time to try and make any adjustments, look at the iPads, talk to coaches. I mean, it was unbelievable to me. But to me, this screams if, at the beginning of the year, when they took the incentive bonuses away from the players, now granted, when their salary is $50,000 a year, for the average position. I don't know if that was across the board or whatever. So you got to figure the game bonuses would have only been maybe a couple thousand per person. If you had just that argument, you would say, hey, man, it's better than nothing. If you don't want players checking out, it sounds like it's the money that makes them engage. So, but when you're talking about potentially going to the NFL, when if you make a team, especially as a third string quarterback or whatever, you're probably talking a minimum. What is league minimum now? 800,000 to $1 million, something like that.
Somewhere that.
It's got to be somewhere like that. Well, now that's a big difference between 50,000 and you're talking $1 million to make a team. So,
but even in the same time, in the same breath, though, Ed, you looking at it as that's not even guaranteed money that you're going to get.
No, but I mean. So what I'm trying to get at is, so what is the answer? Because this brings up something that's going to be very relevant to this league going forward. That if the players are going to have that big of a discrepancy between what they make in the UFL and what they make in the NFL, how are you going to bridge that gap to make sure that what happened in the championship game doesn't continue to happen next year and the year after that? Because these players that have an opportunity at the NFL don't want to take any chances that they're going to get injured, especially at the end of the season when NFL training camp turns around and starts in a few weeks.
Well, if that's the case, then this is a perfect thing. Then finish the sentence. The 2025 UFL season will be a failure if that's a perfect way to segue to that. That means you need to start giving. It needs to be about the players, and it needs to make sure that they get a somewhat comfortable living. I'm like, even AAA guys, if you're saying this is a high, if it's what's being said is saying this is a high minor league that you're using to get people to the NFL, then they need to be paid a little bit more than that. 6 figures is something you need to put that in. That's where they need to be at.
Well, I say the 2025 UFL season will be a failure if they don't put in some kind of incentive bonus for winning.
And then market the freaking league, man.
And so
market it.
Let's talk about St. Louis. Okay. In 2020, I would venture to say that our average attendance didn't start out the season that high, because I think I remember right, the first and second home game was somewhere around 27,000, 28,000. But we started
they averaged about that.
But we started building momentum that by the last game of the season that was canceled by COVID, you had over almost 49,000 tickets sold for that game. Okay. So Then we take the 2 years of COVID. Now you come back in 2023 and we averaged 35,000. St. Louis averaged 35,000 butts in the seats for the 2023 season. Now in 2024, we're going to be right in the neighborhood of 32,000, 33,000. So every year, the momentum is continuing to go down. And just like you brought up the marketing, I say that is the number one reason why attendance is starting to go down in St. Louis, because, well, let's just be honest. You charge over twice per ticket price than anybody. I went to Michigan the first game of the season. I sat on the 50-yard line in row 6, and with taxes and all that other stuff added in, I paid $40 for my seat. Almost the 50-yard line in row 6, I paid $40 for my seat. I sit in section 140, which is right on about the 45-yard line in the
Yep.
dome. And it's about halfway up. I don't sit in the lower bowl. I sit in that little section just above the lower bowl. It's almost $100 a ticket. So you tell me you got zero, absolutely zero marketing going on in St. Louis. And now what you find out is you have visitors coming from the other teams like San Antonio and whatnot. What's one of their first reactions? Wow, you guys sure like your ticket prices. Holy smoke. So we go from being just taking advantage. I mean, we're assuming, everybody assumes St. Louis fans are going to be at these games where there's zero marketing going on, but we're just supposed to keep showing up when there's other alternatives going on all the time, as we saw this year. When I come back in my next life, I'm going to be a scheduler because and I'm going to be a scheduler, and I'm going to be working for St. Louis Cardinals. I'm going to be working for St. Louis City, the Battlehawks, concerts, you name it. And I'm going to put together a schedule that's going to give each team undivided attention every time they play. And then I'm going to run commercials. I'm going to put it on social media everywhere. I guarantee you I will run laps around what they've just continued to not do. I mean, if I got to believe it's all cities and not just St. Louis, but I got to believe it's all the cities. But if they don't start by firing several of the marketing guys, or at least, if nothing else, a serious roundtable has to be in order, because if you don't, we went down to Memphis for the meet and greet. Our whole group did. A-Train, you remember?
Right. I remember that.
We got time with the coaches. We got time with Daryl Johnston.
Yep.
We got time. I mean, they sat up on stage. We talked to them. They come down afterwards. They talked to us some more. When they came to St. Louis for the meet and greet, we had zero access. Zero. They filed them in. They went into a VIP section where the fans had zero access to them. They tunneled them to the stage. They talked for about 15 minutes, funneled back to the VIP section, and then left. So, again, it's not that hard, but you got to get into marketing. You got to have marketing. Does that qualify? Does that qualify as an Ed rant?
Yeah, I think it does. You have to give yourself some credit on that one, man.
Oh God.
That wasn't the one. That wasn't the
one.
That was it. There it is.
There it is. Oh my God.
That was the rant.
I've been way too quiet because usually I had a trigger finger on that bad boy.
But listen, but here's the thing though. You are so correct with all of this. Like, if all 8 cities, listen, no matter if they have great attendances or not, you want to make sure there is something accessible for them to make sure that they are known, like, hey, this is our team. Granted that the Birmingham Stallions won this past year, and they won they already, and I'm going to say this for all the Birmingham fans, you already won 3 championships in a row. You just won the very first UFL title. But my point is this.
And it wasn't even close.
Exactly. And so my thing is, even with Birmingham, like, Skip Holtz doesn't mind being close to the fans. Like, Coach Beck does not mind being close to the fans. If you're saying you want to draw in these cities, even though they're at a high minor level, Bring them in. Do not be fickle with fans because fans are here to support your product. Now, if you're not caring about fans, then just shut everything down. Don't even allow them to get tickets. You can go back to the 2020, 2021 style where it was no fans. That's nothing. Apparently, it worked. It worked in 2022.
You got to have more marketing besides interrupting Coach Beck from his practices to give us 2 minutes on Instagram or Facebook to remind us that we need to bring one friend and fill the dome, and that's your marketing plan for the whole week. You have to give everybody in a market, you have to make sure that everybody knows what their options are to spend the almighty dollar. And when you don't put anything in front of them, they continue to do what they've always done every spring, every early summer, which, whether it's go to the park, go on a vacation or whatever. If you are not going to put the Battlehawks or the Stallions or the Panthers, or you name the team, if you are not going to put that front and center with every other thing that's out there being marketed to the hilt, you are going to lose. And every year that goes by that you continue to ignore the fan, it's going to be that much harder and harder to get them back.
Definitely, because here's my thing, man. And you need to make the UFL, if you're saying this is a league to unite everyone, then it should be a big party for the UFL championship, wherever you decide it should be. Make it a 2-day weekend. And I know they don't want to do that because they just want to get the damn game out of the way and just say, hey, it's over. They want to get the 12 weeks in and whatnot. But that's the thing. If this is supposed to be a league about uniting, you got to do way better than this game plan that you had for season 1, just so you can see what it looks like is bad. Yes, and JR said bad on the local media too. Well, the reason why it's bad on the local media, because it's considered low rate. They will put Mizzou and Illinois over the Battlehawks. They will put SC, which is granted, it is a major league team. They'll put the Cardinals over them. The Battlehawks barely get anything. If UFL was more major, like the USFL was back in the 80s, even they looked at it as more major than what this is. I'm tired of that whole minor mindset. I get it, but it's like, I've been wanting this for so long. It's like, look, I would rather them have a spring professional football league that's not minor. It's a major one. What's wrong with it? It doesn't go against the NFL when it's in the spring. That's my biggest hang up with this. Well, because if you put them in major cities and you can't call them minor, and me and Spurge have had this conversation on many of shows about it. And that has always been my thing, is that this league, UFL, needs to be better marketed. This is for everybody, man. This is for all. When the XFL dropped in 2020, ratings were amazing, or better than expected. Let me say that. Better than expected. And we go back to that a lot because of how everything was thought out. It was planned. And the game itself, as we progressed, it started to regress a little bit. But as that season was going on, we were liking that game. I'm like, why did we not follow the same guidelines, even with the new management? I understand this is a new management, new league and whatnot. This is supposed to be about that type of game. What we had, it was nothing really wrong with it. The 1 and 2 and 3 point conversions were great. It's a great innovation for the game. You see what happened with the NFL and what they're doing. The NFL is saying we're going to use the XFL kickoff after the UFL chose to switch it up.
You know what? I'm concerned about A-Train because I think he's about to blow a gasket. So
You know what? I think I'm on the right place to do that because I think we've been blowing gaskets all night.
So I'm going to take a quick break just to get his blood pressure down a little bit. We'll be right back.
If you aren't perfect, if you've ever struggled, if you've ever failed, if you want to get better, be better, and make our world better, this is the perfect brand for you. True Victory. Founded by U.S. military veterans, True Victory is a sportswear and streetwear brand dedicated to building everyday champions on and off the field. We're a cause. Our purpose is to transform lives and elevate humanity through the power and unity of sports, positive stories, and serving others. We're dedicated to the game, the grind, and the globe. But most importantly, we're dedicated to you. That's what it means to be always true.
Here's the good news, though, A-Train. You ready for the good news?
What's that?
The good news is we are going to have a 2025 season.
Yes.
And the good thing is out of all the group I've heard this year, I would say that Daryl Johnston probably had the respect from me because he's always been pretty forthright, I thought, all season in recognizing what the shortfalls were. Now, he has, in the last couple of days, made a pledge that they are going to use this offseason to correct some of the wrongs that they know happened in this season. And I gotta hold him to his word. I think that if he does what he says he wants to do, and like you and I, we've both said several times this season that instead of reinventing the wheel from season to season, keep reinventing the wheel. He led us to believe today or yesterday that the same 8 teams are going to come back in their same cities. They're going to get the opportunity to take advantage of a full off season of marketing. The schedule's going to come out at a decent time to give people enough time to make plans and buy tickets. So I got to believe that if they bring the same 8 teams back with a better plan, that things can only get better. You agree?
Absolutely. And I just seen a comment, and I want to, it was from JR. He was like, you talk about advertising. You got the Cardinals and Giants is playing in Birmingham right now on Fox, who owns the UFL and advertising rights, and nothing about the Birmingham Stallions winning the UFL championship. The reason they're not going to talk about that is because that focus is all about the Negro Leagues and baseball, and that it. I know, I get where he's coming from. Birmingham is starting to have, is really a sports city, so you should mention everything. They're not going to mention a football team on a baseball telecast. I get where he's coming from, but they're not going to mention that. I understand the sentiment. It says here, look how many, Mike was like, look how many pro hockey leagues are in Canada and pro soccer leagues in England and pro rugby leagues in Australia. we can definitely have two great professional football leagues in America. Exactly. That elitism, that mindset need to quit. Like, just because the NFL is the end all be all, it does not have to be. The UFL can be that in the spring, and the NFL can be that in the fall. It's not like they're going head to head against each other like some leagues have done in the past.
Go ahead.
If the CFL can still run, what make you think that they can't go against the U? That's what I'm like. I can't understand it. I get the CFL is the CFL, and they have different rules and stuff, but they still play American gridiron football at the end of the day, and they play right there alongside, and they play on Friday and Saturdays, and they play sometimes on Sunday. But still, my point is they still playing against the NFL. The UFL can do the same thing. As a matter of fact, if y'all want to make it minor, then play them in the same time. That way they can move up players from the UFL to the NFL, and they'll be right there. Plug and play. Why? If you put it in the spring, then it needs to be a whole nother major league, is what I'm getting at.
And the way the NFL is as far as monopoly goes, they're never going to have to worry about the UFL overtaking them. So
exactly.
If you want to have a true farm system, that is a very viable idea. The good news is that this year, in about every category you want to talk about, they had an increase of viewership, no matter you name it. They went up in everything. So that is a big-time positive sign. And the fact that they want to talk about their shortcomings, even after you had the increase that you had this year, I think only bodes well for the UFL going forward.
And it's going, I get it, it's going to take time. And I heard that Daryl Johnson is keeping the 8 teams and they're not expanding, which is a good thing. I know people look at that as like they need to add more teams. Why? Just so they can keep lower attendance in the new cities that they're going to play in? Because you're not going to believe in the product anyway. So what's the point? You might as well keep it in the same cities that you have.
So the good doctor's talking about the NFL. I would encourage him to stay tuned, because in the second hour, we're devoting the second hour to the NFL. So I want to get into a big discussion. I'm not going to say what it is now, because, like they do on the major networks, they keep trying to reel you in, So I'm not going to say now what we're going to talk about, but hopefully when we get into a discussion on it, that second hour is going to fly. So just stay tuned.
See, this is the mindset that I was looking at it. Like this, where Excalibur is saying, the NFL was born when the lower class AFL joined with the NFL. They were already around. And the AFL, they went 10 seasons. And you know how many teams that they had when they finished? 10. They had 10. I learned the history about the American Football League before they went over and now then become the AFC. I'm not saying the UFL is going to do that with the NFL, but my point is there's still a way that this can work as a major football league. I'm not saying they're going to pluck the best from the draft. The only way that's going to happen is if money is involved. You're going to have to pour a lot more money in it. And I get where Jeremy was coming from saying about the poor economy. And yes, they have the right to make a choice, but at the same time, people are going to put their money in the NFL just like it did in the UFL in college, because they love the game of football.
They love
that's what that's about.
Well, I tell you though, back in 2009, when Brett Favre was playing for the Vikings, and they made it to the NFC Championship before the defensive coordinator of the DC Defenders decided he was going to put a bounty on Brett Favre and got suspended for a year. My boss, where I was working at the time, had told me right before the NFC Championship that I had it happen twice, as a matter of fact, and I got screwed out of it both times. But anyway, so in the fourth quarter, the Minnesota Vikings and Brett Favre are on their final drive with a chance to go ahead and win the game. I'm on the computer, and I'm looking at Super Bowl packages. This is in 2009. I'm looking at Super Bowl packages. The cheapest one I could find that included hotel was $10,000 for what I wanted to do to go there. Because if you go there, of course, you're going to want the NFL experience, right? So you got to do that. You got to go to the game. You got the hotels. So you're telling me that in 2009, it cost $10,000 to go to the Super Bowl. You're telling me in 2024, 15 years later, that the average Joe can still go to an NFL Super Bowl? So as we talk about the NFL continuing to get more and more corporate and more just a hobnob between famous and the big corporations that can afford it, the little guy like you and I can't afford to go to those games, but we could sure afford to go to the UFL games, couldn't we?
Exactly. You know,
So,
I mean, it is going to come to a point that in the future we're going to be like where we were for COVID. I'm telling you, there's going to be you're going to be watching the game from home, and they're going to be playing out there on the field, and they're going to pump in crowd noise. I'm telling you, that's where we're headed. I'm telling you now. I believe that's where we're headed.
You think that the games are just going to be empty stadiums with
pumped crowd noise, and you're going to pay from a home. That's where they're going to.
I tell you what, I've had a guy talking in my ear the last couple months telling me that St. Louis is going to potentially increase ticket prices again for next year. And all I'm saying is, when you got season ticket holders that you're charging $70, $80, $90, $100 a ticket, and then you turn around 3 days before the game and you're offering $14 tickets and $17 tickets to everybody, and they're sitting in one section right behind you, you're only going to be able to do that just like this championship game. We got a suite. We all went together and got a suite. And then right after we got the suite, we found out that you could get your hands on a championship ticket for as low as, what was it, $12?
I heard low as $2.
And so you're telling me that you are going to have season ticket holders you're going to pay almost $100 a ticket. And, oh yeah, they're season ticket holders, but there's no incentives or no appreciation shown to the season ticket holders the whole season. You're going to have a meet and greet where you don't even get to talk to anybody unless you're called on, and it's already preconceived who they're going to call on when they ask the questions. So, I mean, so I would say, again, if this isn't reflective of the other fan bases, and I will say it was not reflective of Memphis, because when we went to the Memphis meet and greet, it was a totally different ballgame. But if you want to build the core fan base in this league, you have to be right with the season ticket holders, and you have to want them and show and make them feel appreciated. Just food for thought, because I've had the conversation with Mama Bear already. Why should we spend $100 a ticket when I could be buying a ticket where I don't care if I sit a little bit higher, but I get the same ticket just a little bit higher for $12, $14? So if you want to excuse me, I can't talk. If you want a fan base and you want them to be there every week, come hell or high water, give them a reasonable ticket price that everybody can afford, that they know when they buy the ticket that the next Joe's not going to be sitting behind you for pennies on a dollar. Find that price that everybody can be happy with, and you're going to go. It's going to be leaps and bounds.
I'm going to make a fan in Birmingham very happy with this comment. Remember in 2020 when we had the tiers and everything, when you had and Vince McMahon said that he wanted tickets to be as low as $20, right? That they wanted them low, and then it wasn't going to be too high to, have a family of four to go and enjoy a game. Like, I wish you could have, they steal so much other stuff. Steal that too. Like, come on, man. You can steal that. It was there for you. Like, the blueprint was given, and I understand it now. I understand that fan in Birmingham so much, BT. I understand you now. I get it. They messed up everything.
Did you read this? JR wrote, I believe that because I talked to Brett about it. I think the all-inclusive ticket in Birmingham includes food, right? I'm pretty sure it does.
All-inclusive, you should get all of that.
Here's a perfect example. First row, 50-yard line tickets to Birmingham for $75 all-inclusive. And while he was there, they offered $10 tickets that came with a free $100 Michael Strahan sweatshirt, so I bought an extra ticket. I mean, come on now.
Said food, beer, wine, and liquor. Yeah, I guess so.
Instead of offering cheap tickets and all the incentives after the fact, adjust your ticket prices down so that when your marketing hits the city, wherever you're at, they jump on them because it's reasonably priced, that you can bring your families. I mean, I'm not going to say any more about it. In fact, now I need to cool off. So we are going to take another break. We will be right back. Oh, boy. So, I got thinking about it during this break. That ticket to Birmingham, all inclusive for $75, I'm in. In fact, I was going to go there this year, and we had to back out because all of a sudden the guy I was going to drive down there with started getting responsible and everything, and I don't know where the hell that come from because I've never seen him be responsible ever since I met him. My God. But anyway, I'm heading up Birmingham next year because that all inclusive. Hopefully they still have that. That's going to be a good deal.
Yeah, it's all going to depend on, like you had mentioned at the beginning of the top of the show, Ed, about scheduling. Like you said, I want to be a scheduler in another life, right? Because I want to make sure I get the biggest and best games possible. You
Well,
know, and
but think about that. Opening weekend, we got 40,000, and we set a spring record. We had the Cardinals that drew like 39,000. We had the soccer game going on that drew like 22,000. We had a concert going on that drew like, it was like 7 or 8,000. Anyway, you add them all together, and with the Battlehawks 40,000, there was like 110,000 people downtown at the same time for some reason. And it's like, if you got, I mean, they did it all in the same time frame, and it's like you spread this stuff out and you market the hell out of, make a weekend in St. Louis, and you can do a 30-second TV spot or whatever where you show chronological order of football game, soccer game, baseball game, concert at night. You can see it all in downtown St. Louis and just market the hell out of it. How is that not going to be a win, 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 win all the way around?
you know, a lot of these sports leagues, they have to get their schedules in, you know, ahead of time. And knowing with the UFL, they were the last of the bunch. So it's like you had to get the scraps, you know, what was on the table. And so they had to get whatever was left. And so because
but if the dome is free, if the dome is available on Saturday, or the dome is available on either day or Sunday, at that point in time, they could have took a few seconds to look at what else was going on that weekend, right? I mean, instead of having an 11 o'clock game in the morning on a Saturday, let's see, the Cardinals play at 1. Why don't we have St. Louis at 6, the Battlehawks, so then they can go to the baseball game, grab a bite to eat, maybe tailgate a little bit, and then head to the Battlehawks game. You know, to me, it's, I don't know, maybe I'm just way out there. It just doesn't.
I know we're talking about St. Louis here, and yes, a lot of people were upset about the dome, and that was from the very first week when they had the monster trucks, and they outright refused to clean up most of those areas. Just throw some sudsy water on the damn seat, and you'll be fine. You'll be okay.
Mama Bear and I each had a hot dog. And I'm sure you probably heard this, but I'll tell it again. We had ketchup and mustard packets.
Right.
We each had our hot dog, and we had a ketchup and a mustard left over. So we thought, just put it on the little concrete ledge here by the railing. You know, well, whatever. We come back 2 weeks later. This was in week 2. We put the ketchup and the mustard packet on the concrete ledge. Week 4, we sat down. It was still there. So we added another, I think it was a ketchup packet to it. We come back in week 6. All 3 packets were still there. So we come back in week 8. They were still there. And so we thought, you know what? We're probably most likely going to be in these seats for the playoffs. So let's leave some more stuff, because then we'll have our own little general store that we won't even have to get up. We'll just be able to sit there and
just leave the packets there.
Finally, in week 10, 8 weeks after we put those packets on the ledge, they were finally taken. 8 weeks later, they were finally took the ketchup and mustard packet.
Wow. I see y'all had fun. Y'all had fun with that one. Y'all had fun.
And I almost felt like I was upset because I kind of felt like those packets were mine. I bought. What's up, Big Ray?
You know what? They were off to the side. You know what? I feel for fans in Houston as I see Rig popping up right now on the show, because they played in a stadium. Oh my goodness. So everything was outside, and what I mean by that is it was open. compared to TDECU, there was some areas in the stadium where, you know, you could get some shade. You had to go run for shade. And, you know, you could still watch the game and enjoy it. At Rice University, you couldn't do that. If you ran to the concession stand, you couldn't see anything with the game unless it was on TV. But if you were out there, you could just turn around. I mean, you didn't have to watch the television. You could turn around and you could still see the game. And you know what? Stadiums like that, you know, are cool. I don't have any problem with collegiate stadiums. I think your daughter had mentioned it on yesterday's the A-team edition, and yeah, playing in collegiate stadiums and stuff. Yes, I understand, Rig. It was a rental property while a house is being fixed. Yeah, I'm like, they don't ever need to play there again. Like, seriously.
That kind of compares to Vegas, because that first game they had in Vegas, they showed the coach on the visitor sideline.
Yeah,
you could see a farmhouse 10 miles behind him, because there was nothing but greenland wasteland all the way down there. Oh God! So
exactly. So yeah, I understand. Like, okay, they tried it. Like, with 2020, look, I think the worst stadium out of that bunch in the XFL was the LA Stadium, you know, where the Chargers had played that one year, you know, before they moved into SoFi, or a couple of years before they moved into SoFi, right? So, like, Tampa played in, when they were the Tampa Vipers, they played in Raymond James. You know, so it was cool. You know, it was cool to see that. Of course, everybody remember the Roughnecks playing in TDECU and June Jones. It just seemed like everything then was just perfect. You know, it was just, everything just seemed right. And it's like, as the years progressed, it's just like they tried to recapture that, and it went to shit. I'm sorry, I hate to put it in that term, but that's where it went. It went south. It was not like, the experience was gone, you know, and no disrespect to anybody that did in-stadium work, no matter where they were, you had a tall task. You had a real tall task at hand, dealing with a crowd that a lot of times did not want to be engaged of what was going on. And it seemed like just then, like in 2020, it just seemed way better. Just way better to me. Listen, you know what? This ain't a Redbird thing, because Redbird just invested in it. If anything did something, you got to go to the people of the Russ Brandons, the Daryl Johnstons, the whoever, those that handle the marketing and trying to get an experience to make it seem like it, you know, so that, you know, that way you can enjoy it. You know, when you had in the past, it wasn't like that way.
But you know what Redbird Capital reminds me of? They remind me of the investment group that's not truly about sticking with something to try and turn it into something great and make money. It's almost like they want to invest in something so they can strip it down and then try and sell it for a bunch of money and get out. That's kind of what they reminded me of. But enough about the UFL, because we are going to end hour one. And when we come back, we are going to get into hour number 2, and we're turning our attention to the NFL. Be back on the other end.
This is the Fuel Sports Network.
And that's the bottom line. want a war, you're going to get one.
The cream will rise to the top, oh yeah.
Now you want to get nuts? Come on, let's get nuts.
Nobody thought of that.
Hard work pays off. Dreams come true. Bad times don't last, but bad guys do.
So to start off hour 2 the right way, now that we're officially talking about the NFL, we got to start off our discussion by saying this.
I'm not here to make friends. I'm here to make money.
I understand.
Right?
I understand that. I understand that wholeheartedly. Yes. Not here to make friends. Here to make money.
So here is the discussion that I want to have. That they announced today that the NFL was in talks with ownership. And they were specifically going to talk about the fact that the salaries for the starting quarterbacks have gotten so high that it's impeding on the ability for the rest of the team to make the money they deserve. And so what they were going to discuss as a remedy to that was they were going to possibly call on ownership to handle quarterbacks separately from the rest of the team. They are going to initiate a salary cap for the whole rest of the team and have quarterback negotiations handled strictly between the ownership and that quarterback.
Starting quarterbacks, correct?
Correct.
Because there's no way in hell them other quarterbacks on that roster are going to touch anything of what they're getting.
They are saying that starting quarterbacks, the top starting quarterback salary now, it used to be, I remember when they gave Aaron Rodgers $50 million and everybody was like, oh my God, $50 million, there's no way this can't happen. And now you've got Joe Burrow, Trevor Lawrence, Jared Goff, Justin Herbert, Jalen Hurts, all above $50 million now. And you've got guys like Kyle Murray and Deshaun Watson and Patrick Mahomes and Kirk Cousins. I mean, think about that. You pay Trevor Lawrence $55 million. Patrick Mahomes has got what, three Super Bowls, and he's making $45 million. So how long do you think it's going to be before Patrick Mahomes gets a redo? So at some point in time, when they're taking up 18 to 20% of the salary cap of a team, and you've got 53 other ball players that you've got to try and fit in under the cap with the other 80%. And then, oh, by the way, you've got defensive linemen now that are up to 24 to 25 million a year. You've got Chris Jones at 32 million a year. You got the wide receiver position up to 35 million a year. You've got the top running back, Christian McCaffrey, making 18 million a year. It's just impossible. Unless you are, for the first time, Minnesota Vikings get to actually have a team where they have their quarterback on a rookie contract. Now, if JJ is not the starter and they make Sam frickin' Darnold the starter, they're only paying him $10 million. But look at the advantage the teams that can draft a quarterback and have him pan out right away have over the other teams that have to pay a little above journeyman quarterbacks over $50 million a year. Is that not a huge, huge advantage?
It's a true discrepancy. Seriously. Like when you look at something like, because you got young quarterback like CJ Stroud, you got Anthony Richardson, who's really yet to evolve, right? But we've seen how CJ Stroud was this past year. You already know he's going to be getting a big contract no matter what in Houston. And when salaries go up, that means tickets are going to go up. So with that being said, it's going to be I don't have a problem with that, because if you're a starting quarterback in the NFL, that means we believe in you and your leadership. Yes, I see JR said easy decision, stop paying scrub quarterbacks $50+ million. Let's get something straight here. Kyler Murray and Deshaun Watson have had bad years, but they're not bad quarterbacks. Let's get something real here. All right. Aaron Rodgers is not a bad quarterback. He still could play at a high level. CJ Stroud's playing at a high level. Lamar Jackson, who bet on himself, playing at a high level. Like, of course, Patrick Mahomes. Mahomes doesn't need another contract, to be honest. He could play for free. He's already getting $500 million from his contract, and they'll reconstruct. And a lot of people should be like Patrick Mahomes and reconstruct your contract. He wants to keep players in Kansas City.
Well, that's the only reason why he's sitting at $45 million, because.
Well, yeah, his is top heavy. His contract's top heavy, and then it'll start decreasing as the years progress. And that's a smart move, especially if you want to keep a team together and you want to try and win as many championships as you can.
Well, that's what Tom Brady did.
Exactly.
Tom Brady was, for what he did for the Patriots, was so underpaid, but he did what he had to do to keep the team relevant.
Exactly.
And so are we seeing then, as these salaries just get to be higher and higher, are we seeing the end of rookie contracts, or at least the length of the rookie contracts? Because I got to believe that if CJ Stroud continues to do what he did last year, that he's going to play for, he's looking at quarterbacks making $50+ million, and he's sitting at $7 million.
Right. And I think Trevor Lawrence just got off of his rookie contract. I think he just did before he got that big deal. So it's going to be another couple years for CJ, but the way Houston is looking, do you want to wait longer? You want to wait till that rookie deal is over?
They say that Anthony Richardson, which is basically on rookie season 2.0, because he never really got a chance to play the first season.
Right.
But he only threw 400 passes in his college career. But so during the offseason, he's bulked up to 255 pounds.
I just hope he don't turn into Jamarcus Russell. I really don't. That's my biggest fear.
The knock on him was Anthony Richardson could not take the beating of an NFL season because his frame wasn't big enough. And so he took care of that. He's one of the heaviest quarterbacks there is now in the league. But man, I knew a guy in high school that was fast as fast could be, but he wanted to be better at football. So he hit the weight room and hit the weight room and hit the weight room, and finally he got so bulked up that the next time he went to run and track, it was like, okay, where'd this guy go? This ain't the guy that was just running here last year. I mean, he was fast, and he went to one of the slowest guys we had just because you bulk up, that's one thing, but if you don't stay stretched out, and of course I got to think with the trainers that they have, that they know what they're doing, that they know how to bulk him up. But when you're used to playing with the frame he had, then all of a sudden you go out there like 255 pounds, that's Dante Culpepper-ish. And Dante Culpepper wasn't even 255 pounds. So.
No, he wasn't. Wow. And I know you remember that because, big Viking fan and stuff. Like, I remember the days of from Randall Cunningham to Jeff George to Dante Culpepper. And then you guys, later on wound up getting Brad Johnson, Brett Favre. It ain't like y'all had bad quarterbacks in Minnesota.
Yeah, we just got to stop the bounties, man.
But that's my thing when it comes to these big contracts. Kirk Cousins getting $100 million, and then right there after that, they messed around and drafted Michael Penix, who's 24 years, or who will be 24 years of age by the time the season begins. They looking at him more than they're looking at Kirk. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens with these contracts, and I would not have a problem, like I said, them separating it from everybody. If you're the leader, we're depending on you when it comes to offense. You're the one that has to distribute the ball to the different players, whether it's the running backs or wide receivers, and that your offensive line got to protect you. That's why I always believe starting quarterbacks should give some of their salary. If y'all have good years, you give it off to your offensive line. Because they had to protect you all year. And they come, believe it or not, they come a dime a dozen. So
here's a couple different things. The last couple of years, the guaranteed contract has become more and more prevalent. And I understand why the players, you can get the biggest contract known to man, but if it's not guaranteed, it don't mean nothing. So you look at the top five quarterback, the top five guaranteed salaries at quarterback. You got Jalen Hurts, $180 million. Jared Goff, $170 million. Kyler Murray, $160 million. Josh Allen, $150 million. And Patrick Mahomes, $142 million. So that is guaranteed.
Like I said, with Pat could retire now. He'll be a Hall of Famer. Immediately. He don't need to do anything else. He's got his guaranteed money. He don't even need to play the rest of his contract if he didn't want to.
So here's how it is with contracts. The minute someone makes a dime more than you want to renegotiate.
Absolutely.
And then the next guy wants to renegotiate. Then the next guy wants to renegotiate. So I was listening to a sports talk show this morning, and they made the comment that number one, the owners get to negotiate directly with quarterbacks separately from the rest of the team. And then you built in a clause that if it's a 4-year contract, if it's a 5-year contract, you can't renegotiate it. But what you can do is that every time they up the salary cap, say they add 2% to the salary cap or they add 5% to the salary cap, the quarterback that's separate from the rest of the team, their contract automatically goes up the same amount that the salary cap went up.
Interesting.
And in return, then, the quarterbacks have no negotiating. They have the negotiating power for their initial contracts that they make with ownership. But once they sign a 4-year deal or a 3-year deal or a 5-year deal, the only adjustments that's allowed to their salary is whatever the salary cap goes up or goes down. And if the salary cap goes down, like it's done before, if it goes down, so does the quarterback salary. It goes down by the same percentage. and you make the quarterback position its own entity?
Ooh, it sounds intriguing. The problem is, nobody wants to lose money but again, these owners are trying to make sure that they're able to pay other players in the process. And I think unions, the Players Association, they'll balk at that idea, because the way that plays out, quarterbacks would have been like, hell no, because I don't want to lose a dime of my money. And a lot of contracts these days are starting to become top heavy. So, like you mentioned about Patrick Mahomes getting $45 million, when the contract first began, it was top heavy. And there's a potential of you get them getting hurt, them losing their job. It could really play in a bad way for the owners. I mean, yeah, it definitely could play a bad way for the owners.
So the good doctor says this. No way the union would approve.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
I totally get that statement. But if I told you that they wanted to go to a 17 games regular season,
18, I heard about that.
They want to go to an 18-game regular season. They want to cut the preseason down. I mean, when we said 17-game regular season, everybody's like, no way. There ain't no way that's going to happen.
Should have never did it. They still should have never did it.
And it wasn't 17 till they're trying for 18. So I understand what the good doctor's saying, and I can totally appreciate what he's saying. The union will say, no way. But the NFL is beginning to eliminate the middle class in football, because by the time you pay a certain couple players the money they got coming, Justin Jefferson, $35 million a year for receivers. You got quarterbacks that are going up to $55, $60 million. You're paying Christian McCaffrey $18 million a year. You can only pay all these guys up here. You got to cut a lot of fat in the middle, and you're left with rookie contracts. You're left with free agent signings that you can get on the cheap, just so you can pay the guys up here and all these quality middle-level guys that used to be there for depth on teams, that you could be a second string or whatever and still make a decent living. That's all being cut out now, because you got to pay a certain few individuals big money, and it only leaves scraps for the bottom, and the middle class is being left out. And in a lot of ways, that same thing applies to the fan base.
Yep.
Because it's getting to where the most richest people can go to the games, but the middle class can't afford to go anymore. So
right, you're hurting them. You're hurting their pockets. And we didn't even mention the lower middle class or even the upper middle class. Of course, the upper middle class will be able to go. But my point is, with that, you're hurting. Remember what I said even about the whole thing with the Super Bowl. You're going to wind up watching the damn game at home. You're not going to watch it. You're not going to go to the stadiums anymore.
Right. Fox cares so much about viewership, they're going to be able to carry the Super Bowl, because they're going to have a hellacious viewership, because nobody can afford to go anymore but big corporations. But like the good doctor says here, his cheap tickets used to be $750 each season. Now they're $2,100.
And I think Vegas, the Super Bowl in Vegas, screwed everybody. I really think it did.
When I had my season tickets in Minnesota back in the 1990s, I had 2 tickets for the season that cost me right about $900 for the 2 together. So it's $450 per ticket for season tickets to the Minnesota Vikings. Now, I don't even want to guess what they are now.
So wait a minute. You had it so you had 8 weeks for $900, right?
I had it for 8 weeks but there was 4 preseasons, so you got 2 preseason at home.
Oh,
okay. I
okay.
made sure I never missed those games either. That's how crazy I was. The dome was 4.5 hours from my driveway, and I missed 1 game in all the years that I was a season ticket holder. But for $900, 2 of us got to sit through 8 regular season, 2 preseason games.
$45 per ticket, right? So that's what you were looking at.
For about $45 a ticket for my season tickets.
That ain't bad.
Back in the 90s.
That wasn't bad. If you think about it, I remember.
I couldn't afford to pay for my gas to drive 4.5 hours and come back.
Oh, Lord.
Like I said, that time I told you in the NFC Championship in '98, when I got stuck staying in a hotel that had paneling, for Christ's sake. It was in a little hodunk town, watching in a room with paneling, watching a little tube TV in the upper corner that had 3 channels, all of which were on the Super Bowl pregame show, or the NFC Championship postgame show, that I got all 3 channels talking about how the Vikings choked. While my wife and 3 kids were sleeping snug in their beds, I got to sit up in a room surrounded by paneling watching a 15-inch tube TV. But that was I'm not bitter or nothing. But that just goes to show you, when you're talking 20 years, 25 years, how the landscape has changed in price. Between, I used to be able to bring my wife and pay the extra money if I wanted my 3 kids to go or whatever.
Right.
Yes. To today's prices, I can't even go to a Battlehawks game. I could go to an NFL game in the 90s for half the price that it cost me, less than half what it cost me just to go to a Battlehawks game now.
That's insane.
So as we talk about this, and we talk, and the good doctor talks about how the union will never go for it. I don't know. You've got how many quarterbacks in the NFL? Starting quarterbacks, you got 32.
Right.
Okay. Take them out of the mix.
Yep.
They're not part of the deal. Now you've got how many hundreds of NFL players that can substantially increase their salaries by a separate negotiation?
Right.
You don't think that could create a groundswell that the rest of them say, hey, quarterbacks, go get your money. We want to be something that our lives can be better, and even the middle class can maybe come back again.
Right. And let's not mention that now most of these owners now want new stadiums. They want state-of-the-art stadiums. They're getting tired of the old brick and mortar that they used to be and whatnot. Like the good doctor says here, prices are insane. Chiefs games are getting out of hand, and Hunt wants a new stadium and want to move them out. And want to move them out of Missouri.
You know what's going to happen? If Missouri doesn't buck up, just like they finally had to buck up against St. Louis, and St. Louis still got screwed.
We're going to Kansas.
But I tell you what, if Missouri doesn't plan for it now to buck up for the Royals and the Chiefs, they're going to Kansas. Because Hunt will chase the almighty dollar, because he's got the championships now. He's got everything to dangle over the Kansas City and saying, hey, look at what we've got. Look what you're not going to have unless you fork over the money. And you take the Chiefs and the Royals away from the Kansas City, Missouri, and they go over to Kansas. Oh, boy.
Man, I'm just saying, like, in Missouri, if since you're going in that direction, Missouri can't get out of his own way. Like, why you not doing the gambling tax? Like, or, not bringing in sports gambling. Like, that brings in money. You trying to depend so much on the lottery and stuff, and it's not working out. But that's a whole nother story. But when it comes to football, in this case, it's Missouri's going to be, only thing they're going to be worried about is the Missouri Tigers or Missouri State Bears. or what's my group with St. Joe? I can't think of it. But my point is, it's gonna be in Lindenwood University. That's the only football you're gonna have in the state. If you're gonna sit there and not have not a single professional team there, that's insanity. That's just straight insanity. And like, I don't know, when we look at stuff like this, it's like you would think that teams will leave the state, right? He's like, no, they've been here all these years and they got so many championships. We can make this work. No, they'll leave in a heartbeat. If something they don't get, they gone.
I gotta finally admit, good doctor, you got a good one here.
Oh, good.
Missouri governor. Missouri governor.
He's only worried about it. But wait, hold on, man. But okay, but here's my thing though. If they ever wanted to expand, like, how Memphis, Birmingham, those cities, they always have screamed. They said they wanted NFL teams, right? And you get them out there, and it's like you get the UFL to see if it'll work, and it doesn't. Like, so what's the point of having them there if you're not going to sit there and play? Like, I know, what was that? The Titans. The Titans played in Memphis before they went to Nashville, right? And so they got good crowds and whatnot. And then what was that? Bud Adams said, "No, we're going to Nashville. Nashville's better for us." You screwed Memphis. Gave them the finger. And it's like these cities, they want it. Like, what do they have to do to sit there and say, "Hey, we want an NFL team"? And they say, "No, well, we give you the UFL, you play there." And they're sitting there and they're looking like backhanded. I don't want this. I want the NFL.
Well, why is St. Louis never going to get an NFL team again?
Because it's leadership. It's leadership. Leadership.
Well, yeah, but you also know as well as I do that the first thing St. Louis is going to say to them is, "Build me a stadium," and like the good doctor says here, you're going to have some kind of state involvement because owners just aren't going to flip the bill anymore.
What makes you, and right? That's what they made Kroenke do with SoFi. They made him foot the bill in California.
So I gotta say that I actually think, I thought about it today. I actually think that separating the cap, the NFL cap, and giving ownership the right to deal separately with the starting quarterbacks of their teams, to me, actually makes good sense for the whole.
So you want to separate it, is what you want, right?
I want it separated. They give exclusive rights to the ownership to negotiate with the starting quarterback separately, and it does not become part of the overall salary cap. But, I suppose I got to say, if you're an NFL owner, you got money to burn anyway. So cash.
You would think.
Because what I was worried about is that you would have teams like Jerry Jones that he'll pay a quarterback $100 million and not even think about it, when another team may say, "I can't afford to pay a quarterback," and you start getting discrepancies that way that hurts certain teams. But sitting in that, listening to the NFL ownership, most times I don't think there's any owner that's in the NFL that's really having too hard of a time.
Yeah, and you know what? When you have like, you talk about these different owners and stuff, right? Like Michael Bidwell. Michael Bidwell is in a world of trouble. And so he's trying to figure out where he wants to do next. And you see what's going on in the state of Arizona. They're trying to, they just lost their NHL team. Remember what's going on with the Diamondbacks, where they were selling World Series tickets for like $20, right? And so they're talking that about the Suns, and the Cardinals is not a good situation either. Like, I'm telling you, And we're headed down a road where fans are not going to go to games and you're just going to watch it from home, and everything, the prices and stuff is going to be skyrocketing from that. You're just going to be having your football experience from home.
Isn't Busch Stadium still considered new?
Yeah, almost. They're almost 20 years old now. As we get in.
No,
I'm serious.
No way.
Seriously, they'll be 20 years old in 2 years.
The new Busch Stadium.
Correct.
Oh my God, I am a lot older than I thought.
They opened in 06, and remember, half the stadium wasn't even. 80% of the stadium was done.
Well, yeah, over the left center field wall, it was still piles of dirt because they hadn't even started Ballpark Village yet. It sounded like dirt out there for 2 years. I think first couple years they had the baseball stadium. They didn't even have Ballpark Village. But do you think the good doctor's right? You think you think we're being set up with the Cardinals too?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I would have said that before he even brought it up. But he beat me to the punch.
What are all these social butterflies going to do when the Cardinals ain't in St. Louis to be the place to go to drink?
Oh, St. Louis going to bend over for the Cardinals. They going to bend over for them. It just don't make sense if they don't. They going to bend over for them. Oh yeah, and then as soon as it happens, the DeWitt's selling. Remember, Mike Shannon said it before. I know we get off topic, but it's like it. But see, my point is, with ownerships in sports today, it wouldn't even make sense if the UFL even got ownership in it, because all it's gonna wind up doing is people gonna get fleeced. Ain't gonna make no sense.
Well, with that thought, we probably better take another break.
Sir, I want to know why running backs are getting the short end of the stick. Running backs in the NFL, we were talking about these salaries and stuff. They're getting the short end of the stick.
You want to hear the top 5?
Try me.
Christian McCaffrey, $18 million.
Yeah.
Which, if you think about it, for the running backs, they haven't hit $18 million that I can remember. Second, Alvin Kamara, $15 million. You got Jonathan Taylor, $14 million. Saquon Barkley, $12.6 million. And you got Josh Jacobs, $12 million. And then after that, plummets way down. I think it's like 7 million, 7.6 after that.
I just find that interesting that the running back position, especially the one, for Christian McCaffrey's sake, that he's utilized like how Marshall Faulk was utilized, and Jonathan Taylor is a straight up back, and they're in the teens. Wide receivers is getting twice, either twice or almost three times as much as what a running back gets. And I know they keep going out to catch the ball, and I know a lot of people believe that quarterbacks throwing into the receivers is what makes exciting football. But I'm like, that ground game is that ground and pound that what many teams like to do, and they are getting stiffed. Like running backs are really getting them, and offensive linemen are getting stiffed.
Well, Christian McCaffrey is the best of both worlds because he can run and catch passes out of the backfield.
Right.
But as you talk about the wide receivers, the top 6 wide receivers, Justin Jefferson set the new market at $35 million. But what's sad about that is you've got guys out there, Lamb, he's holding out, so he'll probably, to get in, he'll want to make more than Justin Jefferson, CD Lamb. So
yeah, as long as Dak Prescott is his quarterback,
he's probably going to at least get the $35 million. But you got Justin Jefferson, $35 million. A.J. Brown, $32 million.
Makes no sense.
You got Amon St. Brown, $30 million.
Yeah.
Tyreek Hill, $30 million. Jason Waddle, $28.25 million. And Devontae Adams at $28 million. So you're getting just, St. Brown. I mean, I'm not going to call them middle of the line wide receivers, but I would say he's definitely upper tier. But there's no way if they are going to set the market to where they're going to pay position receivers like this, and I mean wide receivers, defensive linemen. Now you've got defensive linemen, like Daniil Hunter. He got 2 years, $49 million, 48 of it's guaranteed, so he's got $25 million a year. If you're going to start paying linemen $25 to $33 million a year, wide receivers $35 million a year, top running back $18 million, how in the world do you ever have a middle class in the NFL? There's no way. You're going to have a team of starters and rookie contracts and free agents trying to hang on. The rest, all the middle depth guys, you better be ready to play for scraps, because there's no way the salary cap can support these salaries. No way.
Yeah, just I know we got some fans on here that probably play the Madden game, and you try to figure out how you try to hose everybody. I mean, you can, but now they're getting more realistic and stuff. So it's like, how do you try to keep the players happy, but if you want to get a key free agent, you want to pay him top dollar, you're not gonna be able to do so, because you're not gonna get him for that type of money, man. Because you want to make sure that the ones that's been there, are getting paid. And so one of the main things is, like, I get it, the quarterback position is the most important position on the field, but also because I don't think the wide receiver should get more than the running back or the offensive lineman. That's just me, because they got to protect, right? You got to make sure the quarterback is protected so they can get the ball to them, right? The running back is going to take it and try to, get on the ground and do at least get 5 yards a carry. Because I think that's still the career mark, even right now as we speak. 5 yards is 5.2 with Jim Brown. That's still a hard task. And they have to work for their yards. Receivers, not as much. As long as you open, you can get a good 8 yards plus on your first play. As long as you're making the right move. I'm saying that because I'm going to running backs run harder. you know, and I want to see running backs get what they're due. And they're not, and I don't think they're going to ever get it. Derrick Henry should have got. I understand Derrick is 30 years old and they don't look at him as a top back for real anymore, but he's still reliable. And I know he's dealt with injuries, and I think Good Doctor had mentioned it, that they're getting hosed, and part of it was injury factor, and they're in a dual threat and they're easier to replace. But still, they're getting hosed. Soon as that 3-year contract is done, you got one, and you got one big contract, and then you're lucky to get another one after that. You're lucky if you get another big contract. Quarterbacks could get 2 contracts, and they'll be good.
If there was ever a time, if you talk about who's got the advantage in this league, it's the teams, like I said, who have good quarterbacks who hit the jackpot on rookie contracts. You've got C.J. Stroud, if Anthony Richardson can make a run of it. You got Caleb Williams. Look at J.J. McCarthy's. We can talk about J.J. McCarthy being a future stud in the NFL. Because it sure in the heck ain't going to be Sam frickin' Darnold. But you look at these teams, if any of these rookie quarterbacks on rookie contracts make it, and C.J. Stroud, guys like that, have given every indication that they're around to stay. They're right now in today's NFL, there is such an advantage to that, to not have to pay the big dollar quarterback, and you can pay the rest of your team. If there was ever a time that the Minnesota Vikings could make the Super Bowl, please, it's going to be like in the next 3 years. It's got to happen in the next 3 years.
You hoping and praying for something like that.
Hoping and praying. Justin Jefferson's in his prime. Oh, God. J.J. McCarthy. What is it, all wrapped in swaddling clothes and fleece or whatever?
You hoping, but not when you got a team like the Kansas City Chiefs, that's constantly wreaking havoc on everyone, not just in the AFC, but whoever they represent in the NFC. So, it's going to be difficult for any team in the NFC at this point to try and stop the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah, they're not going to get much resistance from their division again this year, I'm afraid.
Yep, no resistance whatsoever. That's the AFC West, and they got that. You might as well just give them the division right now.
What as they say, they're going to have in Denver, Russell Wilson. There's $35 million in dead money against their cap this year for Denver, and there's $50 million next year.
And they don't even have Russell Wilson.
They don't even have Russell Wilson.
Oh,
he flew to Pittsburgh, where the coaches called him up before he even landed and told him he had the starting job. Didn't even have to work for it. So we'll see how that works out against Fields. See who. I guarantee you, Russell Wilson has maybe 2 weeks to start fast, because if he doesn't, the Pittsburgh fans, they'll be chanting Justin Fields' name at their first home game by the end of it if Russell Wilson is stinking it up, I guarantee you.
Absolutely. I see right now it's still Baltimore's division. Cincinnati is going to be right there behind them. Cleveland is going to make some noise, but that's Baltimore's division. Pittsburgh is don't be surprised, Ed, if you see 3 to 4 teams out that division and they make the playoffs.
Can you believe the potential of Derrick Henry playing for Baltimore?
Absolutely.
Oh my God.
It looks. It is. As much as we sitting here doing that, remember what happened when they had Gus Edwards and team like the Chiefs was able to stop it. Like they stifled that type of run game. It was amazing. It was, and like I think Steve Spagnuolo was incensed on Lamar Jackson out of it. So now Lamar has to learn how to be more of a passer, because when he's forced to pass, he looked awful. So so that's going to be the major thing. And my thing is I'm a Houston fan. So I'm looking forward to seeing year 2 now, and with the loaded up weapons that they decided to nab, getting Joe Mixon, to be the running back, and then nabbing Stephon Diggs from Buffalo. Looking forward to that. And then their defense, D'Amico Ryans ain't gonna play fair.
Let's take our last break, and when we come back, we'll do our last segment. We'll be right back.
Houston, we've triumphed. I've made it back to Earth with the cargo intact. The game-changing, time-sensitive payload is none other than the revolutionary energy flavor we've all been waiting for. Introducing Merc Mayhem Cherry Limeade. Merc Clan played a crucial role in securing this energy flavor, and together we've unlocked the future of power. Merc Mayhem is not just a drink, it's a statement, a fusion of relentless energy and bold flavor. The secret is out. Merc Mayhem is set to redefine the energy landscape, leaving ordinary drinks in its cosmic dust. Get ready for a taste explosion that matches Merc Clan's unparalleled power. Join the revolution, and let's unleash Merc Mayhem upon the world. Astronaut M signing off.
Same great taste. Yes, same great taste. Same great taste.
And we're back for the final segment, and I think we still have A-Train. He maybe he stopped at Chick-fil-A or something on the way home from work to get himself something to eat or something. But no, I think in the NFC North we're going to have a pretty good race this year. Think there could be some. Oh, look at that! He pulled the roundabout, huh? There we go.
Yeah.
I told everybody you went to Chick-fil-A.
I probably did. You know what I mean? I should have. I should have ran to Chick-fil-A real quick. But listen, I'm telling you now, man. Looking into the season, it's really looking like it's going to be another Chief year. Like I don't see a team that can stop them right now. I don't see a team.
So I would agree that in the AFC, it's really still Kansas City. And what Buffalo was thinking, I have no freaking idea. That here is your AFC playoff nemesis that you can't seem to get over the hump to get to the Super Bowl. So, wait a minute. It's draft night. The phone rings. Who's that? Oh, the Kansas City Chiefs. What do you want to do? You want to move up in my spot. How long would it have took me to say, hell no? You're not drafting one. Oh, it's like, what do you want? Oh, sure, take our spot. We'll move back. And so now they end up getting another speed receiver. It's like, you just can't write this stuff. You can't write this stuff. So I have, oh God, it's Jiminy Christmas. It can't be that hard, can it? So now that you've pretty much determined that I agree that it's still AFC, it's still the Chiefs to lose. Who do you see in the NFC? Do you see any kind of changing of the guard, or do you think as close as the Packers got, are they going to take a step back, or are they going to maybe take that final step?
You would think the Detroit Lions should be in this conversation. But right now it's the 49ers to lose because of what they were able to pull off. Right.
I still get in arguments with Mike Palco
about that game.
About Detroit, because Dan Campbell single-handedly kept the Lions out of the Super Bowl. Their own head coach coached them out of the Super Bowl. It was the dumbest thing I ever seen. Oh God, I felt like I'm not even a Lions fan, but I felt like I was sitting in the Dome Sunday cheering for a team that I was like, what the heck is going on out there? Who is this team that beat us like a redheaded stepchild the week before, and now oh God.
Yes, this is a true dark horse. That's a true dark horse. You might as well have said the Bears
Washington.
In the North.
I thought he was going to say the Vikings.
No, he wasn't going to say no Vikings. Come on, man.
The NFL story of the year.
You think J.J. McCarthy is going to lead them past the Lions and the Packers?
Well, you know what would even be a bigger reach if it says NFL Sam frickin' Darnold and Justin Jefferson, the hottest tandem in the NFL.
Say, who would have thought, right? Sam Darnold wound up getting a big paycheck.
Yeah, it ain't gonna
Minnesota.
It ain't gonna happen, but I can always wish, right?
That's just like Sam Nix is going to take the Broncos to the playoffs.
So let's see. We got. I think the Dallas Cowboys are going to always be the Dallas Cowboys. I will see.
But the Eagles is the Eagles and the Cowboys right there. You know what I'm saying? The Eagles regressed last year a lot. Especially in the last few weeks of the season. I think they're seeing
Did they ever put a finger on what happened in Philadelphia?
Not really.
You talk about the train going off the tracks.
Exactly.
I mean, it was an unstoppable, just like the movie, it was an unstoppable locomotive that you thought was heading to the Super Bowl, and they completely fell off the chain. I mean, it was bad.
Very bad. But hey, listen, you would think Sam Howell is the guy, but Jaden Daniels would be there by week 2. Listen, I really have a problem with the North Carolina quarterbacks. Drake May, Sam Howell, they look at these guys like, okay, these are going to be gifted quarterbacks and they're going to be saviors. Him in New England, Drake May, I hope they don't lead the same route as Mac Jones. I'm really hoping they don't go that same route, but that's where it's headed. I think that's where it's headed. And I feel bad for Jared Mayo because, oh, yeah, I heard about that too. The many Eagles players do not like Sirianni, so they ready to cut him loose.
So I say we're probably at a point where it's probably time to get up out of here.
Yeah, We could do that.
But what I wanted to say is let everybody know that, my counterpart, Easy coaches a high school baseball team, and of course they're having a very successful season, which is good for him, and I'm happy for his team, but it's just resulted in more time away from the show. I hope they are able to take it home because, he's had a passion for coaching for a long time. So I'm never going to begrudge him taking the time, especially he's got 2 boys on the team right now, one of which is an 8th grader that's playing high school baseball, and he closed out the game last night, and they bumped off the number 1 seed in the conference in the playoffs last night. So he's playing the championship game tonight. So, but then they go into the playoffs after that for a couple weeks. And I got Mike Palco, who is going to take a little bit of time off too as well after the UFL season. So I think to get our batteries recharged, because we want to be all out for the college season. We want to be all out for the NFL season. And we want to be able to do a lot of different things. So I think the Bottom Line show is going to take a little hiatus. It's only going to be, our next show will be July 18th. So we're going to take a couple weeks off. We've got a couple vacations we've got to fit in there. But so we're targeting July 18th as our initial show back again, getting ready for the fall. Everything football, we're going to be covering it all. The good thing about Thursday nights is we're going to be able to cover not only college and the NFL for the upcoming weekend, but we're also going to have the Thursday night NFL season, or the Thursday night games that we can commentate, or we can be like Eli and Peyton Manning on while we're doing our show and comment the games while they're being played. So that'll add an extra little twist. But I just want to let everybody know that the Bottom Line is going to take a few weeks off, and we will return on July 18th. And get ready. We got a lot of exciting stuff planned, and can't wait to get back at it, but got to make Mama Bear happy. Been married for 39 years. I wanted to hit at least 40. So taking a little bit of time off, taking Mama Bear on a cruise, and going to kick back a little bit. But we will be back ready to go on July 18th. And with that said, do you have anything else, Mr.
Nope.
A-Train?
No, I'm good. All
right, everybody have a great 4th of July weekend. Saying it early. Have a good rest of your week.
Oh, A-Train show tomorrow at 1 Eastern. There we go.
A-Train show at 12 o'clock Central tomorrow.
Yeah.
And until then, we will see you guys later. Until the footballs are in the air again, we will see you back here. Catch you later.